Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Human First, AI Forward, People First Strategies for AI Success. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We're really thrilled to have you here. Today's conversation will be focused on practical, tangible ways that you can drive impact with AI and benefits in HR through responsible, ethical, and human-centered approaches to using this technology. And you'll hear a lot about what that means in the coming hour. My name is Megan Yost, and I have the privilege of moderating today's session with two of our experts on AI integration, Michael Stoyanovich and Colin Pickell. They'll introduce themselves in a moment. But first, I just like to run through some housekeeping items regarding this webinar technology that we're using today. The first is that your audio is muted. However, if you'd like to ask a question, and we'll take questions throughout the session, you can do so by accessing the Q&A tab at the top of your screen. We'll address questions towards the end of the presentation, so submit them anytime. I'll be monitoring them, and we will ask Colin and Michael them towards the latter half of the presentation. And the most important question we often get is, this webinar is being recorded, and you can access it after the presentation closes. We'll share a replay with everyone who registered following this call. So without further ado, I will turn things over to Michael to get us started.
Thank you very much, Megan. Welcome, everybody, and look forward to participating with you, Colin. So I'm Michael Stoyanovich. I'm with a particular practice within Siegel, the Administration and Technology Consulting practice. I've been a part of Siegel for about 10 years, and I'm out of the San Francisco office, although I travel all over North America for my work. My favorite ways to use AI for personal reasons is basically as a thinking partner and an adversary for a lot of the writing that I do. I have a lot of personal intellectual exploration and writing I like to do, and this has actually just made it so much easier and more fluent. Professionally, I actually use Microsoft Copilot, which is our approved tool stack here at Siegel. And I only use Microsoft Copilot, our approved tool stack. Something for all of you to take away. Use your approved tool stack. No shadow AI, please. And I use it as a production partner. I use it integrated into my tasks, my workflows, and my quality assurance. And I've got some particular governance set up so I can use it well and comfortably and be assured I am confident in the output. Of course, I review it and I'm responsible for the output ultimately. So that's how I use it both personally and professionally. Colin, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you use AI?
Thank you, Michael. My name's Colin Pickell. So I live and work in Austin, Texas. I have been with Siegel Benz, which is our communication consulting part of practice within Siegel for a little over a year now. Before that, I had a 20 plus career in HR and benefits communication consulting and product innovation. So was getting my feet wet with AI quite a while ago and really excited to join Siegel Benz. A big focus of our work at Siegel Benz has been, we recognize as communicators that with generative AI, like it's really a disruptive force, right? Because it can create and do the things we as communicators could do. And so finding our place in that, helping our colleagues grow and evolve, building and supporting our clients in any way has really been my priority focus for this first year. And so that's a little bit of how I've been using it at work. We're actually using it a lot for content generation and also prototyping and building AI, forward solutions for clients. On a personal note, I love using AI as a travel planner. I spend a lot of time just on Airbnb looking at things instead of scrolling social media. So I'm always planning a trip. I'm always planning the next thing. And I found it's really amazing at itinerary planning and just giving advice and kind of pulling things together. It makes it even more enjoyable for me. I can do even more of it, more vacations. So excited to be here with Michael and to share with you. We've got a lot to cover in this hour, but I hope that most importantly, what you walk away with is just a sense of greater clarity and confidence and capability, sense of capability, your capability in guiding AI innovation and impact in your organization. Michael and I have been living and breathing this within Siegel, our own organization, and helping ourselves and our colleagues grow. And we're excited to be on this journey with so many clients as well. And so we hope that the ideas you come away with today are going to help you feel like, yep, I can do this. And we know I have some ideas where to start. And that's the practical, achievable action. So again, regardless of where you are in your kind of evolution or journey or whatever you want to think, however you want to think about it, we're going to share some stories and practical ideas for how to move forward. So our agenda kind of looks like this. We're going to talk a little bit about why AI matters to all of us and what we mean when we say AI. And AI goes back to like the 1950s as a area of study, but it's really jumped into our purview with generative AI and ChatGPT in 2022, and so it's now something we all need to reckon with, and we can't just leave it to the engineers and tech guys. We're going to re-envision your role and impact in the age of AI to that end, right? You don't need to be in a technology role to have a place in this. In fact, we need everyone in this journey. We're going to look at a framework for navigating your AI evolution, so kind of a way to understand where you are and how to move forward. And then we're going to talk about and give you examples of and some demos even of how Siegel and our colleagues can help you at each stage in that evolution. And hopefully our goal is to leave some good time for questions at the end. As Megan said, we welcome you to submit those and would love to have a lively discussion. So before I hand it to Michael, who's going to do a little bit more grounding in what we mean now when we talk about AI, we would like to spend just a moment and kind of level set that we see as Siegel, we see AI as more than just a cool new technology or something to turn a profit on or something that the OpenAIs and Googles of the world are, it's their business, right? AI is all of our business, and it's a human opportunity more than anything, right? So it's doing things that humans have been able to do kind of exclusively up to a period of time. And so we need to have that awareness, that harnessing of it. We need to understand it enough to be able to grow and co-create with it and coexist with it in a way that takes care of safety, takes care of our data, is ethical, aligned with our values, and ultimately that supports human well-being. And human well-being is really at the heart of a lot of what Siegel does with the organizations we work with. We believe very much in helping people thrive in, their health, their finances, their lives, and supporting, our general ecosystem as a society. So it's big stuff and it's kind of exciting, but I'm going to give it to Michael, who's going to go a little bit deeper into the technology itself and give you a flavor of, how it's manifesting right now for all of us in our lives.
So first, why don't we get a sense of why we're here today? There have been multiple technological shifts in our lifetime, in my lifetime. The PC revolution, the commercialization of the internet, mobile and social use in the early 2000s. This is different. It is another technological wave. It is a tsunami, I would argue, and it's washing over all of us. In both in our personal lives and professional lives, some more than others, but inevitably we're all going to get wet. As of today, approximately 800 million people are using ChatGPT. 58% of all employees use AI at work. 48%, much to my chagrin, I do a lot of privacy and security work, have uploaded sensitive company customer data into public generative AI tools. AI has captured 50% of all global startup funding. And about 1,800 Gen AI specifically startups have raised $112 billion. All of this goes to show the enormity and the magnitude of what we're all facing. But to to Colin's point, this is a technology. It is very high technology. It is extremely sophisticated. But what we hope you leave with today is a sense that although these tools provide competence, they don't provide comprehension. That's up to you as the human and all of us as human beings to learn how to utilize the tools, utilize them and integrate them into workflows with the appropriate governance. So they do benefit humans, our organization's humans, your staff, as well as those participants and beneficiaries who we all have the great good fortune to serve. So this is just a sense of the scale, and the scale is enormous, whether one realizes it or not. Next slide, please, Colin. And so when we talk about AI today, although AI is 80 or 90 different technologies, and some of them are rather abstruse, really what we're talking about today is the headline AI, the generative AI. Generative AI really is different. It produces fluent human-like output, and it generates that human fluent-like output very easily and capably. That's part of the challenge with it. It's part of the benefit, but also the risk. In particular, three types of, shall we say, implementations of Gen AI that we're going to talk about today. We're not talking about producing videos. We're not talking about producing, voice fakes. We're talking about primarily conversational chatbots. OpenAI's ChatGPT kind of started the commercial Gen AI revolution November 2022. Anthropic's Claude, Google's Gemini. Those are the three big frontier models. Meta put out some very good open source models. There's some other very high quality open source models out there as well. These are the ones that we're talking about today. These are primarily in use by our clients. Most of the clients that I interact with are either using some combination of Microsoft's Copilot along with ChatGPT, maybe Gemini if they're in higher ed, along with Copilot. There's some mix right there. But then there's particular agents, declarative agents as well. And this is, where we have helped clients and clients themselves built actually agents within their environment, right? So again, Copilot, you can build agents. You can do the same thing. They're called a different term, but they're generically an agent in Gemini. And even for those of you in corporate America, Salesforce has gone very heavily into the agent world, and they've branded theirs Einstein. But then there's also what I would call semi-autonomous agents. And I call them semi-autonomous agents because they're, not like the agents that I was just referring to, where, you have a document, you submit it to the agent, you get some feedback, et cetera. You can integrate it into a workflow, but it's not really executing somewhat autonomously into a workflow scenario, 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps. There are semi-autonomous agents that you can build in these environments as well, and some open source tools too. So when we say, Gen AI today, we mean, your ad hoc prompting or your systematic prompting in chatbots. We mean declarative agents, and we mean semi-autonomous agents. Thank you very much, Colin. Next slide. And so today, how are our clients applying AI? Many different ways. These are just illustrative. These are by no means a comprehensive library of all the different ways. But we've got clients doing more than just a proof of concept and actually utilizing a Gen AI in their task, in their workflows, quality assurance across public sector, multi-employer, and corporate. Primarily, to boost their team's productivity, boost the quality of their work, improve service, and provide more insight and, potentially, identify errors and potential fraud. So I'm not going to go through the list here. There's a big list here, but just know these are just illustrative. We pulled these just to get you thinking about ways you could utilize it yourself. Colin, over to you.
Yeah. And I touched on this a little bit earlier, but again, as we dig in and we kind of share stories and share the framework, we really want to encourage everybody to just really think more broadly in this moment about what your role is and how you move forward. So regardless of whether you're in IT or you're head of benefits or head of total rewards or leading in a fund office, there is a role and an important role for you in this kind of I'm almost calling it a movement, right? Because I do think we need to all have that level of attention to this and caring for it and moving it forward. And so think about yourself more as, your skills in translating complex into simple, right? Your ability to guide people, your ability to build trust and help be an advocate for that, right? And making sure that things are protecting people and their data and their information and your organization's information in the best way possible. Being a change agent and realizing that the role and the type of change you're going to be doing here is not a one and done. This is readying ourselves as leaders and our own organization and people for kind of constant evolutionary change, right? This is the level of innovation and improvements being made to this technology is pretty breathtaking, and it's hitting us faster than anything has ever hit in the past. We roll out something and then all of a sudden a ton of new features and new capabilities that we have to get everybody up to speed on. We're living this with Copilot even right now internally. So wearing that change agent hat and remembering that your deep expertise and your whatever your subject matter or field is so important. It's still so important because we do have to be the human in the loop or in the control seat, right? Making sure that what these generative AI tools are producing is accurate, is consistent, is complete, all of that. So use and flex your kind of human superpowers in this. Stay curious, encourage other people to be curious and move forward confidently, and be okay saying, I don't understand this, or I need to explain it. There is a lot and it's complex and it's difficult. Even for Michael, it's hard to keep up with all of it. So it's okay to be the person saying I don't get it. And I don't think anybody else is going to get this either. And so that's an important role to play.
Quickly, Colin, before you move on, I simply wanted to underline a point that Colin is making here and tie it back to something I said earlier. These tools provide competence, but not comprehension. That's what you as the human being to do. They are incredibly capable. They put output on the screen very fluently, very quickly, but you have to be the human. So I just wanted to make those points and tie those two together. Competence, but not comprehension. That's what you, the human, have.
Yeah. All right. So this will get us into kind of the meat of sharing some stories with you and examples with you to make this all real and give you a sense of how to think about yourself and your organization on this journey, right? So we're going to go through, it's a pretty simplistic framework, honestly, but a couple of things I'm not even going to walk one by one through these because we'll introduce each of them as we get in there. But I do want to make the point as you look at this, that this is not, although it is presented linearly, it is not necessarily a completely linear journey. Oftentimes these steps are overlapping and a lot of this is happening all at one time. And there's a lot of that evolving basically as a circling back, right? So it's to say this is always on, right? And you may be, focused on one or more of these elements at any given time and even coming back to them once you did the first generation of it, right? So again, think, it's fluid and always on, and also think probably faster and more needing to get things out, pilot, iterate, move on, even with the strategy, even with your risk and governance documents, everything, think about it in a fluid and iterative kind of mindset, right? This is building, sometimes good enough and then coming back and making good enough better. All right. So I'll jump in. We're going to talk first about just exploring. So we actually have quite a few clients who are at this space right now, and we have some really, I even had a discussion this past week with a client, another colleague and I, talking with them. And I loved that they came with like, we're hearing all of these things in conferences, but like, I don't have any idea how to approach these tools or what to do with them, much less guide my organization to use them safely and to get the value from them, right? And I think what a wonderful leaderly thing to do, right? To admit and be open to say, I don't get this, but I know it's important and we need to start somewhere. And so these things that we're doing in the exploring stage really with clients is just talking about, what questions do you have? Understanding where they are and helping them think through things like, should we invest in AI? What are some maybe problems that it can solve for me? Are we even ready for it, right? If we look at our organization, we look at our culture and our processes and systems and teams, like, can we do this, right? And how would we do this if we jump in? So as it says there, AI discovery sessions are things that we can, work with you on to support. We can also do deeper AI readiness assessments of all aspects of the organization to really help you determine what are the things you need to care for as you move forward, where might be risk areas or weak spots or blind spots, and shining the light on those. And then data and content strategy. So even if you're not thinking about implementing an AI tool or technology in the next 6 to 9 months, it will always be important that the data going in and the content going in is, identifiable, clear, accurate, complete, doesn't have redundancies, doesn't have inconsistencies, doesn't confuse anything, right? So you can start that work even before you actually start the journey of implementing something or fleshing out your strategy in deep detail. Michael, anything you'd say on exploring, or shall I share this?
Not at all. You did well.
Okay. All right. So here's just an example. So again, similar to the meeting I just referenced, this was with a multi-employer trust fund, and we did an AI discovery session last summer, actually, that fund trustees kind of invited us as part of a regular meeting to share what we're doing with AI and what's possible. And that also, it created, it was a brief 30-minute presentation, but it really launched into a lot of curious, reflective conversation about what's possible, where the risks are, where we need to focus. And so out of that, they've asked us to do some training for business managers and demo some of the AI assistant capabilities. And there's a lot, of continued exploration going there and forming a strategy and looking at different solutions for both the fund office and fund members. And we're kind of along that on their journey. But again, there's no forcing them to do it in this way or in this order. Every organization does have unique needs and things to consider. And so, again, that's what an AI discovery session kind of helps you get to. So let's talk strategy. I'm going to give it to you, Michael.
And so strategy isn't anything, that should feel, foreign and remote to all of you. All strategy means is thinking intentionally and systematically about how you want to layer this new technology into your existing culture, into your existing tools, and your existing technologies in a manner that is appropriate for your organization, not a generic, pull this strategy off of a Google search. People still do Google search anymore. It's surprising. So it's a strategy for you. And so when we talk about strategy, what do we mean? It's a holistic effort. To Colin's point, we want to make sure, you have access to and good data, because these are language models underneath all of the generative tool, primarily, right? And what is language? Language implies written copy. It implies good data and information. So you have a good strategy means role and user-based access controls. You got to make sure people can only see in these tools and can see what they need to see. You need to talk about how you're going to govern the tool, how can people use it, what is in play, and what could be excluded from utilizing. Um, for example, eligibility determination for health benefits. Probably not something you want to have your Gen AI tool provide the final determination on. A retirement calculation for a pensioner. Again, probably not something you want to have your Gen AI tool provide the final determination on. So a strategy implies you putting in place governance and guardrails for your team. It also means things like, do you have the training? Do you have the education? What's your culture like? Are people open to change? Because it's going to change a lot. So in short, it's a holistic view about, what is appropriate for you? What are the good first use cases for your organization, as well as all of the, systems and guardrails and third parties that are going to be touched by this new strategy. So that's what we say when we mean, strategy. It is it's a holistic review. It doesn't necessarily have to take forever. It can be done quickly, but it does mean making sure that your organization is going in the right direction for your people and those you serve. Next slide, please.
Oops, I'm coming.
And so with that, an illustration, just to give you a sense of that general concept, let's make it real and concrete. We worked with a larger higher educational institution last year, and they wanted to roll out generative AI tools to their staff. They really didn't know what that meant. They had access to and license to ChatGPT and Microsoft's Copilot suite. And so the first thing we did was we actually put in place a responsible use policy with them that was in accord with the larger institution, but was tailored to them. We also did training and education on the tool set, so the team knew how to actually utilize these tools, how to get the best out of them, as well as how to skeptically and critically analyze the output, so they didn't do anything silly and harm themselves up here or those they served. And then additionally, we worked with, leadership and, those key stakeholders they identified from their team to identify and illustrate really high good value use cases. We picked a few and we started to map out what that would look like. And we'll talk about the execution later on. But in essence, we made sure in the strategy that, okay, these are all the use cases we could do. These are the ones we're going to focus on. So now let's make sure we've got the right deployment. We've got the right security in place. We've got the right data in place. We've trained the right people, and we're all going in the right direction. And we know how to use these tools and how we shouldn't use these tools. So that's an example of the strategy. It was rather comprehensive. And it basically allowed them to take the next step. And we'll get to that later on in the presentation.
Don't give it away, Michael. Don't give it away.
No.
So I'll kick off educating, and this is this is something that's really a strength of Siegel's, I think, across many of our practices, right? And educating, going far beyond even just talking about training, right? It is actually like enabling people and supporting and understanding and adoption and culture change and all of the things, right? So it's getting people emotionally ready, mentally ready, physically ready to use these tools and to understand and feel like they have a community of support around them to continue to grow and evolve as the technology grows and evolves and as new opportunities and challenges arise. So this is very much kind of the infrastructure of your people and change and communication that underpins this, as well as some very specific, powerful training opportunities. And I'm going to let Michael, do you want to say something about that? That's
sure.
Something that you're doing a lot of?
Yes, real quickly. We, do provide like an AI academy, and we did that for that previous client I just alluded to for the higher educational institution. We had a few day sessions where we went into different staff and we trained them actually in the environment. Here's what the screen looks like. Here's what this feature and functionality does. Here is how you can craft a structured prompt in a consistent, repeatable fashion. Here's how you can critically analyze the output. Here's the settings we recommend you change, and here's why. Here's how you can build a declarative agent, a simple declarative agent, and so on and so forth. And we actually had labs and people start to do work right there in front of us, and we mentored them and they mentored each other. So it is actual, tangible, it's practical, it's applied, as well as we provided some base education about what these tools do and how they're doing it. No, not because your staff need to be a cognitive scientist or a computer scientist, but they do need to understand what's underneath at a high level so they realize it's not magic. It is very high technology. It is incredible human feats of engineering, but it's still human. And thus it is still prone to error, just like any human or any human construct. And so, it's a model. Some models are useful, and this is a useful model, but that doesn't mean you need to, you can sort of forget oversight. And so we train people how to analyze the output too. So that's a little bit about, it's not just making sure that people have the tools, it's that they have the actual training. Pardon me, I get excited about this because this is really valuable. I see a lot of organizations just pitch tools over the fence and say, hey, you've got Gen AI.
Yeah. And I think we were sharing with a client an article that went around that was, basically saying this study had been done and said, CEOs are like, where are my results from AI? What's going on? And as they unpacked it, it's like, you're not training people on this consistently. You're not doing all of this change management effectively. This is a huge gap, right? Like this is a place. And to me, it does come back to what we led off with at the start about why this has to be a people and human focused effort and not something that's just led from, the sidelines as a more technical, here, put this in and just figure it out, or we think it's going to save money, put it in kind of thing. It's not that easy. And people have a lot of anxiety about what it means for work, right? For their work, for their careers and all of those types of things. And if you don't have a plan for addressing that, you're just going to go in circles, right? It's not going to go anywhere. All right. Your educating story.
And this is real quickly, I think I already referenced it, so I'm not going to spend too much more time here, but really, this is just an illustration of what I mentioned to you in the previous discussion. We actually do exercises and labs in our training. We teach people how to utilize the tools appropriate to them, ChatGPT, Copilot, both, and we'll actually have them do particular tasks and steps in their work and see what the output's like. We'll also show them how to break that output so they can see how easy it is to get something that looks right, but is actually wrong. So they can actually learn how to confidently evaluate the output. Again, I'm not going to go on because we already have, but just to let you know, we've done this. We've done this multiple times. We've done it in higher ed. We've done it in multi-employer fund offices, and so on and so forth. So it's a vital connective tissue between the strategy and the tools and technology. You got to have the people who know how to wield these tools well and ably.
You want to take this one, Michael?
Sure. And so with this, with the training, with the strategy, you actually have to do something, right? I'm very fond of an exhortation from a 1890s self-help book, Message to Garcia. One of the exhortations is do the thing. So it's not enough to have a strategy. it's not enough to train people and give them the tools. What you need to then do is actually do the thing. And what does doing the thing mean? It means integrating these tools and these technologies, be it a chatbot, be it a declarative agent, be it a semi-autonomous declarative agent. It means integrating them into tasks, into workflows, into your governance, into your quality assurance. It means integrating them into your role-based access controls. It means integrating them into all the old layers, right? Too often people are enamored of the shiny tool. Wow, it's a really great tool. And it is. And I will admit, I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of technology. This really is transformational, both for individuals, organizations, and society at large. That stated, it's still governed by what exists. And what does exist? Well, we still use email. We still have role-based access controls. We still use Microsoft Word by and large, or Google Sheets, et cetera. All of these old tools still are there, and they're not going away tomorrow. So we have to figure out how to integrate these new tools and technologies into those in ways that add value and enhance quality, enhance service for those that we serve. Because ultimately, that's the point, right? It's not technology for technology's sake, but it's actually implementing to glean value. So with that, Colin, maybe if you have anything else.
Well, and I was going to add on, and before we'll go into, we're going to actually share a couple of stories in the implementing section as well as a demo. But we don't have a slide for this in here. It's actually in our discovery deck, and I would have added it at the last minute, but it could have, caused ripple effects in the, but we've been talking about and helping clients understand, there are the kind of administrative opportunities for this, right? Where things that we can do that kind of affect our workflows and like how work gets done. There's also more of the like participant, member, employee, whatever you call them, experience, right? That can, create a more engaging, streamlined, better decision support, all of that type of thing. And so Michael's practice and mine kind of really nicely represent that yin yang of kind of all of the back end applications, if you will, and all of the things that can really affect the end user, the participant, right? In your benefits plan or fund or whatever. So we're going to show you a back end and also a front as we get into this next little storytelling section. So, Michael?
Great framing. That was excellent. So with that, one of the things I want to note to you right before we start here is we're pretty much, tool agnostic. We at Siegel utilize the Microsoft Copilot suite. That is our authorized tool stack for generative AI. That stated, I work with clients who use ChatGPT. Some of my clients are in the Gemini ecosystem. That's Google. I know people individually who use Claude, Perplexity. It really doesn't matter to us. That's one thing I just want to make sure you all understand. Now, most of America, corporate America, are on either Microsoft's productivity suite in their ecosystem, or perhaps Google to a certain extent, especially in higher ed. But there are tools. And so when we're illustrating these, it doesn't matter about that. So one of the actual implementations we did recently to provide value, and that's what I wanted to make sure you understand, is for a healthcare company. They are a roll up in the sense that they've grown significantly through acquisitions over the years, a great many acquisitions. They had over 8,000 different job descriptions as a result of all of these acquisitions. They wanted to standardize on a set of job descriptions to import into their HRIS system, which was Workday. And they were either going to have to do, for example, a bunch of Mechanical Turk work, or hire a bunch of temps, or figure out how to use Gen AI. And they came to us, and one of my peers very talented man, Gokul Shishadri. He actually worked with a few other of our peers across Siegel, and we consolidated a variety of these different 8,000 job descriptions into their target set. And we used an AI copilot. We built an AI copilot for them. We did it in under 90 days. And we provided those templates as they desired them. It saved them, they estimated, about 2,000 hours of manual effort, and that reduced costs by about $400,000. So I want to make sure you understand it's not just, hey, can it summarize my inbox for me? Well, sure, it can do that, but it can provide material benefit in time saving as well as cost savings. And this is a wonderful illustration of that.
Yeah, great. And it's a great story. So I'm going to tell more of a kind of a participant facing story. So we partnered with a tech company, a longtime client of ours, to implement an AI assistant in their open enrollment experience. Ultimately, they were looking for ways, as most organizations are who have to deal with open enrollment, wanting to mitigate confusion, improve engagement and understanding, just really streamlining that process for folks. And obviously, tamp down the calls and the escalations and things coming out of that. So we built for them and enhanced OE microsite that really brought AI to the front and center and gave people 24/7 support in their language of choice, right, during that season. And again, while I would say probably this client wasn't going in saying like we need to save money or escalations or anything like that, engagement and being kind of at the forefront of technology as a tech company was super important to them. But we were actually able to help them reduce HR escalations by about 70% year over year. In addition to having the benefit of providing really leading technology for their workforce who, again, deliver technology for their own customers. So it's really an important part of their kind of value proposition. So I'm going to take a minute to just show you, we're not going to go into that client specific instance, but I want to show you just a little bit about what this kind of technology, generative AI or conversational based assistant experience, what it makes possible, right? So you can kind of get a flavor of it for yourself. So this is actually a working demo that we created for ourselves within Siegel Benz. And we have a tremendous focus and around user experience. And so we really wanted to elevate like our traditional microsites instead of just tacking and chatbot on, right? Really think about a different way to help people navigate through their site that maintains some basic navigation. So you can see across the top, if I want to come in and just dive into what I want, it's there. There's a banner that kind of draws my attention. And so some of those fundamentals that we already know work well and people appreciate, but we put front and center here, as we did for that client that I shared, the AI assistant, pushed that to the forefront, actually preloaded prompts there across the bottom that would help, an individual kind of know this might be what I want to ask or look for here. And again, the experience here is largely open enrollment, but I want to show you a couple, like I'm going to pick something that isn't open enrollment specifically, because I know that not every single organization does think about open or deal with an open enrollment, but just say that as a user, I come in and I say, what benefits help with a sports injury? So I'm right asking a question. It doesn't even sound like a question. It's poorly phrased. I don't act like I know what I'm doing, like I'm not an HR professional, right? I'm using normal people speak, right? And if I put that in, and I preloaded this so that you could see it more quickly in the course of a demo, I get an answer that tells me, there's several things we offer. We have short-term disability. We have rehabilitation and physical therapy. If you're in this plan, you also get Hinge Health, which is virtual physical therapy and exercise. So an answer that, again, very contextually relevant to what I asked. I didn't have to ask it well, and it helped me. And then the experience is really powerful because it cites exactly where it gets its answers from. So you know that it's not hallucinating, it's not making things up, and that if you want to go dig out and find additional information, you can do that. You can just click on this and it'll launch it for you, and you can, go from there. So I'm going to show in this one, I said it's for my son. We're in the HDHP because it told me that basically Hinge Health was an employee only kind of benefit. So it says, thanks for clarifying. And then it kind of guides me, and it actually helps me understand that particular benefit. It offers me, the AI will actually generate suggested prompts here that I could pick from. And, if I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I was thinking, that's what I would ask next. Or I can ask whatever I want, right? So I asked who's eligible for Hinge Health. It explained that to me. Again, clear citations if I want to go find. And then I said, perhaps I have a spouse or a family member, adult covered dependent eligible for this who speaks Spanish, and I want to bring them over and let them look at it, and they're more comfortable in that. I can just say, tell me about Hinge Health in Espanol or Spanish or whatever, and I can go back and forth in up to 60 different-ish languages. There's roughly 60-ish languages on the fly, and be able to dialogue in my, again, preferred language. If I were to go into another part of the site, let's say I go to, I'm going to go back to benefit plans. You'll see the assistant kind of stays with me here. And when I zoom down, and let's say I'm thinking about taking a leave, right? And I see this information about time off. We can actually embed prompts within chunks of content. So again, you can immediately engage into a more exploratory kind of discovery if you need, and get answers to things. So if I said, does it, affect my time? How does the time of service affect my time off and leave benefits? And then it gives me an answer. It explains how that leave process works. I tell it, I've been here a year and I want to take a medical leave, and what do I need to do? And it tells me exactly what I need to do and gives me active links to the resources that I need help with. Likewise, it can go into retirement benefits. It can explain things. I don't get this, I don't get that. Explain it to me. So really powerful from just a usability, simplicity kind of standpoint. And we're excited to, help clients. A lot of people are building these themselves. We have a solution that we're building within Siegel Benz, but it really doesn't matter. But you should be thinking about getting it into your user experiences because it's really powerful. All right. So Michael, I'm going to give you the next, and I'm going to try to tab over back to our presentation.
No worries.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we've sort of taken you through a process. As Colin noted originally, it's not necessarily sequential, but we laid it out that way just for ease of your consumption. So let's say you've gone through strategy, you've gone through and you've produced some implementation plans, you've identified what you're going to execute. You've associated budget with it. You've got RACI charts, so people are held responsible and you can govern it. You know what tools you're going to use. You've trained those people. You have reporting, so you know what success looks like. And you're sort of doing it, right? As I alluded, you're doing the thing. But it's not done yet. And it frankly will never be done because you have to continually review the return on your investments. You have to manage the underlying content on an ongoing basis. Models drift, so you need to continually review your models, review how you're utilizing the models. They roll out new models all the time. Microsoft Copilot uses ChatGPT's 5.2, which is their frontier model. These models are being updated. And so in light of that, you need to continuously evaluate what are we doing and does a new model change anything? Output, input, not necessarily governance, but, does it change the cycles and make things faster so you can do more? So you have to continuously train people about new features and functionality. And you need to listen to your people because they're going to tell you this isn't really working well, but I could use these tools here and it would provide real tangible value to participants, to beneficiaries, to my peers, to myself. And so then you need to update those tactical blueprints and roll out enhancements and changes to your execution plan. That's really what it's about, is evolving in a continuous fashion as these tools and technologies permeate more and more of our work life, of our professional life, and as they change, because they're rapidly changing. 3 years ago, you could not produce software code of any quality with ChatGPT or Claude. As of this month, there are many people who produce a lot of high quality software code only using the English language. That couldn't have happened 3 years ago. So when I say things evolve, they evolve quite rapidly. And so you need to evolve too. And that's really what this phase is about, is making sure you understand it's not put it in and walk away. And so the full life cycle, what does that look like? It looks like a readiness assessment to see where you're at. Are your people ready? Is your organization ready? Is your data ready? Is your security and compliance and regulatory stance ready? Do you have the appropriate cyber liability insurance? Because if things go south, you want to prepare yourself and protect yourself. Then it includes that putting in place a strategy that works for you in your context, not just some generic strategy, with your tools and your people and those you serve. It involves training, one or more actual training sessions to teach people about your tools and the environment that they're going to be interacting with, and how to evaluate and digest the output so they can be the ones in control. These tools are competent, but they do not have comprehension. So they're going to put out some really fluent output. And unless your team is trained to evaluate that output, it could cause some real harm to that individual, a peer, potentially even, those you serve. And then you actually put in place tactical and, practical plans. We're going to use these set of structured prompts here. We're going to build and use these agents here. We are going to have a public-facing agent, per Colin's point. And we're going to put in place this governance structure, and we're going to use Gen AI for quality assurance in this manner. So making things very tangible, very specific, tied to budgets, tied to KPIs, et cetera. And that just sort of speaks to the last thing, is you then have to continuously evolve and review that. Nothing's perfect. And so your first passes may not be perfect. But if you iterate, inevitably you'll get to where you need to be and want to be. And along the way, there'll be new tools and technologies and features and functionality, and there'll be a higher standard that you need to meet. So that's sort of the whole life cycle we've tried to present to you today. Colin, anything else you want to share before I, turn it over to you?
No. I think that's exciting, and that we've already taken some clients through that journey. But like we said, it doesn't kind of end ever, doesn't it? Completely. So, and same is true for ourselves. Like, again, we've been working with our own teams and organization to go through some of this evolution. And so we know it's iterative, and kind of we're doubling back and going deeper and going in different, so it's something that's always a priority. So, well, I want to, I'm hoping we might have maybe 5 minutes for questions. So I know that's not an enormous amount of time, but just to kind of wrap us up for today, like, we're hoping you've taken away some kind of assurance of your part in this, right? And where you and your organization can contribute, and a sense of, just how important it is for all of us to get into this and be the wise, intelligent humans partnering with AI to get the best out of it and make sure we're mitigating the worst parts of it, or the potential that could be not to our best advantage. And that you've picked up some points around how to just start where you are and get to where you want to be, and some places where we would love to partner with you at Siegel to help you along that experience. Michael, you want to leave them with a few very immediate suggestions?
Quickly, explore your opportunities, identify those in light of your risk. We're happy to have a discovery session with you. We're more than happy to get on a phone call, a Teams meeting, a Zoom meeting, chat with you. Get fresh participant ideas. Colin and the team can walk you through a more robust demonstration of what she showed you today with that public-facing chatbot. And, we also can help you then take the next step and do a readiness assessment. How ready are you? Right? Because obviously you don't want to crash on the rocks right out of the port. You want to make sure you're going to go out into the ocean smoothly. So we'll help you identify what some gaps are that you should close very quickly. And with that, Megan, do you have any questions for us?
I do. And I just want to let everyone know who's listening that we're going to stay on for a few extra minutes to address the all the questions that we have received so far. If we don't get to your question, we'll follow up with you after. And one other housekeeping item, some people joined late. I just want to remind everyone, this webinar is being recorded, and we will share a replay of this session with everyone who registered following the call over the next couple of days. So we will share the recording with all of you. So we have received a lot of questions spanning all facets of this discussion today, from strategy to governance, protected PII, protected data, and so forth. So one of the questions, we received 2 questions about HIPAA and how HIPAA impacts AI use. Do either of you, maybe Michael, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So obviously, any confidential, sensitive, non-public data and information that you may be entrusted with is, of course, still your responsibility, regardless of the tool set or stack. So you do need to ensure and assure yourselves that any PII or EPHI is appropriately, protected. So inherently, there is nothing wrong with using generative AI with EPHI, as long as you have all of the appropriate, governance and security controls in place that you would for any other system. Because remember, generative AI is a tool and technology like any of your other tools and technologies. So what does that mean? It means if you're, for example, let's just make it concrete. If you're using ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, they are tied to your enterprise license. You have the appropriate, enterprise contracts and agreements in place that have good, strong language around the protection of PII and EPHI, which your attorneys, in theory, have helped you negotiate. You also would want to have regular and ongoing third-party risk management that is allowed in those contracts as well. In the actual configurations and settings within your tenant, be it the Copilot or ChatGPT, you want to make sure they are appropriately configured to protect that EPHI and PII, just like you would any other tool. So there's nothing inherently wrong or different. It is new. It is novel. It is a different implementation, but you have to do all the same things. You got to have the contracts in place. You got to perform third-party, risk management. You have to set up the in-environment security and privacy controls with your IT team, or if you don't have your own IT team, with your managed service provider. Because otherwise, potentially, you're absolutely right, data could leak. if it wasn't accepted from their provider's training, and then you would probably have an issue.
Great. There's a related question about PII, personal identifiable information, about the minimum privacy and governance controls that you recommend before moving from an AI pilot to production, especially around data access, audit trails that affect regulatory compliance.
Sure. So I would argue you want to have those in place when you're pilot, right? If you're using this in your business, in your organization, higher ed, corporate benefits department, HR department, multi-employer, self-administered fund office, you should have all of these controls that I sort of alluded to in place when you roll these tools out. So you do want traceability. That means log traceability. You want verifiability, identity and access management in place. So you have your role-based access controls in place. You want to be able to prove all that. And you want to have the appropriate, contracts in place and agreements in place through your legal counsel. All of these things should be there before you even do the proof of concept, because potentially if they're not, you could leak stuff then, even though it's only a POC and maybe only 6 people have access to it. If one of those 6 people does something wrong, you don't have the appropriate guardrails in place, you still have a problem.
Great. Thank you. So unfortunately, we have to wrap up, and we didn't get to all of the questions that you've submitted to us. So we will follow up with those of you who reached out to us with questions. We really appreciate your engagement and your feedback, and we'll be sure to get back to you. Thank you all so much for attending today. And thank you, Michael and Colin, for sharing your knowledge, your expertise with all of us. You're both such great resources for us at Siegel and for our clients. And we really appreciate the insights that you shared with all of us today. And for those of you who joined us, we have another webinar next month on fiduciary liability insurance on February 12th. If you're interested in attending, I encourage you to go to siegelco.com to learn more. We really thank you for your participation, your engagement, and we hope to see you soon.